so many things we should cover. We still didn't have a look at LeBlanc. We still didn't have a look at Mordekaiser's new story. Qiyana is out, but we know she will get more story when she's actually released, so she'll have to wait. And we got suggestions for the next Who Would Win episode still rolling on our Discord. So since we have all of this untapped lore in front of us, let's talk about the news instead. It's been a while since we have done an episode of Rift News, so as usual, we have a lot to cover. Let's start with something we talked about in the previous video. Teamfight Tactics. I don't wanna spend too much time talking about the game mode itself, that's what the previous video was about. But certain assets of the game mode were already uploaded on PBE, so as you'll see later on, we have already seen some of the little legends in game. In short, if you don't know what we're talking about, Riot took League's spaghetti engine, sprinkled some insane magic on top of it, and they actually managed to make an auto chess game, fully playable from League's client. Because we all know that Riot's engine can be finicky. It was a surprise to many that Riot even managed to pull this off. But I think they did it with some clever engineering. You see, when you launch a game from the client, or in other words, when you get through the picking phase, you may notice that your computer starts a second League program. One is the client and one is the League game. The engine, champion, skins and essentially all the models and data is stored in the game, not the client. So what Riot can do is that when you launch the Auto Chess game mode, instead of the client telling your computer, launch the League of Legends game engine and then load the Auto Chess map on top of that, the client can just launch Auto Chess, the game. If you have no idea what I just said, Riot can bypass a lot of the engine's problems by coding Teamfight Tactics as a separate game. At this point you probably fell asleep, so let's move on without waking you up. Patch 9.12 is arriving to live servers. And with it, not only did Mordekaiser start a new Age of Conquest on the Summoner's Rift, but the Dark Star skins also arrived. These include Dark Cosmic Jin, who received his own login screen, Dark Star Karma, who has incredibly well done chroma skins, she even has one that turns her into a Cosmic Reaver. And then we got Dark Star Shaco, who has an Emerald skin. Well, Karma has one too. But from the data, it seems like the Emerald Shaco will be given away by creators. But as of right now, we don't have any info on it yet. Don't forget that Darkstar will also get its own 3 new icons. And speaking of chroma skins, this patch also launched the Esports Passes. And as we mentioned in the previous news, these passes will also grant you esports chromas for finishing its missions. If you decided to buy the Fan Pass, you should be able to get the red and blue Braum chroma, which, let's be honest, is pretty awesome. But then we also have a chroma specifically for LEC, LCS, and LPL. You can tell which one is which because not only can you see the event's logo on Braum's shield, but he also has it written on his shoulder. With this as a part of the pass, you can also get an insane amount of team icons, emotes, and of course, depending on which team you want to support, also a team ward. Next, patch 9.12 also updates 4 more champions visual effects. This time it is Amumu, Ziggs, Lulu and Tryndamere. I'll quickly show you the updates now, with all the videos being sourced from Skin Spotlights. And lastly, the Blue Essence Emporium is still up. This time around you can buy all the chroma skins from the second half of last year, including the exclusive Emerald chromas by the way. But you can also get random champions, random icons, and even random wards. And before we get away from the live servers, there is one more mildly interesting thing. If you're playing on the Turkish servers, as a part of the Blue Essence store, you can also buy a watermelon. I am not sure if this is a slightly racist joke, I'm not well educated when it comes to watermelon stereotypes, but it's a funny thing nonetheless. Unfortunately, it has the standard drop chances like any other orb, so it's not that special. And now, for those of you who are still asleep from our TFT technical talk, I need you to wake up now. If you use any kind of social media where you follow League of Legends, you might have noticed that people don't really like the new skins that popped up on PBE. In fact, the skins generated a massive backlash. From people hating on the fact that other champions would fit the theme better, to people noticing big errors in their splash arts. Let's just say these skins didn't quite hit the mark. So let's have a look at them. First of all, since Qiyana was revealed on PBE, she also had to have a launch skin. Now, what I think Riot's thought process was, is that they wanted to give her a skin from a popular skin line. That way, since people get attached to different themes, a lot more people might decide to play her. So what did Riot do? They gave Qiyana a Battle Boss skin. The issue is that Battle Boss was always focused on non-human champions, like Blitzcrank, Brand, Veigar or Ziggs. And when it had to be a human, like in Malzahar's case, Riot made sure to cover his human side to make him look more like an old school pixelated boss. But suddenly, here comes Battle Boss Qiyana. That's just a human with pixelated spells. The main reason why people are angry is that she just doesn't fit the theme. Old school bosses are always big bulky bad guys. Qiyana isn't exactly a boss you would find in an old Final Fantasy. But hey, you know what's better than an overly too human battle boss? 2 overly too human battle bosses. That's right, Yasuo also got a battle boss skin. And this is the one people really went on a rant about. And I have to say, I kind of understand why. When you look at him in game, there is nothing about him that tells you that he is a boss. There is nothing video gamey about him, he looks totally human, and that's it. They should have turned this skin into one of those Neon Strike skins. He would have perfectly fit there. But a battle boss from the arcade universe? Not really. Next we got Arcade Kaiser, which for the most part, people are fine with. But Arcade Kaiser brought up a different kind of drama. Apparently, Kaiser became the most frequent receiver of skins. On average, she gets a skin every 92 days, which when you think about it is really funny and insane. I still don't have anything against it though. Remember, League is a free-to-play game, with a decent monetization. You are never forced into buying anything. So if Riot wants to give popular champions more skins because they know they can sustain the company, I am totally fine with it. And remember, these words come from someone who is still waiting for a Bard skin. Either way, that Kaiser skin is fairly decent. Lastly, we got Arcade Caitlyn, which just like Kaiser, people are fine with. Here I quickly want to mention that the reason why it's fine if the arcade skins are human is because the arcade skins are the players. The battle boss skins are the villains from their games. Either way, Arcade Caitlyn is very similar to Arcade Misfortune, which means that she's pretty good. However, Arcade Caitlyn also got a prestige version. And for some reason, that's the one people don't like. Which to me is odd because I see this as one of the better prestige skins. She even has an entirely different gun. From me, she gets a thumbs up. As a funny side note, people notice that in her art, her head is actually not attached to her body. If you look closely, even though her body should end right above her chest, her head and her neck are going to the side, and it seems like her head is just hovering in the air. Of course, every single one of these skins will also have a bunch of chroma skins, but together with them, we'll also get a new chroma for the older skins. These include Riven, Misfortune and Sona. There is also a lot of new icons. But more importantly, there are 3 pretty good emotes, one of which is a real animated dabbing Pengu. Lastly, there is also an arcade ward, that looks like something that dropped right out of Wildstar. Now, all the things I just showed you will be connected to the arcade event. These usually happen during the summer when DreamHack or Gamescom are happening. As usual, you'll be collecting arcade tokens, you'll be able to buy arcade orbs, and there will be a chance for an arcade bag. Nothing new. Just remember that the special chromas I showed you, including the prestige skins, will be a reward for the arcade tokens. And now, let's have a look at the main thing I wanted to talk about. More news about Teamfight Tactics. Again, I won't go deep into what the game mode is. We made an entire video on it. Instead, SrenderEdge20 data mined most of the assets the game mode will use. Starting with the less important things. We got the play button for Teamfight Tactics, which once again proves that it will be launched directly from the client. Next we have things like the icon for when you are picking your first companion, who is also known as Little Legend. We have icons showing different chroma versions of the map, because remember, different islands may have different looks. And we actually have summoner icons for the islands themselves too. There is also an asset for an XP boost from a battle pass, which means that even Teamfight Tactics will not be able to avoid a battle pass. Next there is a miniature asset that will show us what the map will look like. Similar to a Hearthstone board, everything you see at the bottom will likely be an indicator for your resources. Or maybe not, because the other assets show us the chroma versions of the islands themselves. And here you may notice there are no indicators around, maybe besides the holes in the sides that may be used for something. And finally, the last asset we got is the random egg, which is also something we talked about in the last video. However, by far the most important thing that was data mined were the companions. And we actually got a full list of every single launching Little Legend, complete with all 3 evolutions. I'll let them scroll in the background while I talk about some of my favorites. First of all, even though Teamfight Tactics is not canon, and it has nothing to do with the story, I like the subtle universe hints. For example, the Silverwing Little Legend is actually a Demacian raptor, and it even has a Demacian Silverwing chroma skin. Next, the Hauntling has a Shadow Isles Chroma skin, even though everyone will likely use the Shadow Mask Chroma. The Furry Horn Little Legend is quite a random creature. It doesn't have a Yeti Chroma or even an Orn Chroma skin. The closest we have is this Molten Furry Horn. But even though we don't know what it even is, it is adorable. Then we have a Rune Spirit, which is obviously a small blue buff sentinel. Then we have Feather Knight Pengu, that everyone is familiar with. And last but not least, we have Mole Diver, which is by far the best little legend. If you don't like moles, you are not a real human being. The only thing better than a mole is a hedgehog, but we don't have those, so go mole or go home. Right now, people just began to data mine their in-game models. And we know Skin Spotlights is already working on a full video. So if those videos get released before the release of this video, I'll show you some examples. But now, let's finish this off with some Teamfight Tactics questions. Normally we finish videos off with Ask Riot, but this time, Sap Magic was answering questions aimed at TFT directly on his Twitter. By the way, we know that Riot did have a look at the video we made. So even though I never asked for it, I want to thank everyone who tried to share the video with the developers. We know they have seen it, so you don't have to spam anyone anymore. But without further ado, let's have a look at the questions. When will Teamfight Tactics be available? The launch on live servers is planned for patch 9.13, but TFT should appear on PBE on the 18th of June, which surprisingly is only in 3 days. Are you going to bring Teamfight Tactics to mobile? Here we learn that even though Riot is absolutely focused on the PC version, they don't want to rule out other releases later on. So while PC is a priority, mobile might happen, should the success of the game mode allow it. Will I be able to use skins for my champions in Teamfight Tactics? This is a big question because half of our video was about this topic. Unfortunately, the answer is, for now, no. But they might try to create different variations of champions free of charge. I am not really sure how this would work though. I'm not entirely sure if this means that we will get special skins for this game mode. The good thing is that we were assured that Riot will not charge for them. And when someone asked about the monetization in a follow-up question, we were told that Little Legends and Arena skins are planned. So people will be able to buy their own board skins too. That is pretty cool, but I would still love to use my own skins for the units. Is X champion going to be in Teamfight Tactics at launch? Right now, Riot has 50 champions ready for release at launch. And they are planning to bring more champions out as time goes on. Remember, they are still listening to feedback. And the last question, how can I learn about the stuff in Teamfight Tactics? Well, first there is a really cool fan-made site that I will link in the description if I don't forget. But we should get a lot more info on the game mode in general with the release of the PBE version. And that is all I have for you for now. Remember, Teamfight Tactics is still in development, and a lot may change before its final release, and even after its release. But only one thing is certain. Riot better upgrade their servers, because they certainly can't handle the amount of moles people will get. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other League facts and stories? And did you know that we have need mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.